Good morning, guys. We are live. We're going to be talking about what is going on with the HPA because there is a lot going on. The vote last night, it passed. The HPA was not in there, but don't fret, my little children. According to my sources, before it goes to the final vote, it is going to be re-added this week, and there's an agreement to re-add the HPA this week. So this week, the HPA will be added back in, and it looks like there is a willingness to pass Section 2 of the HPA in the Senate as well. So we're going to get the HPA this week added back into the bill. It's going to go to the Senate. There is a willingness. Dark, are you going to come in or what? Are you just going to sit back there? Just add yourself whenever you want to. But there is a willingness to pass the HPA in both the House and the Senate. So it looks like we're going to get HPA, even though it wasn't in there last night. The 0% tax thing was in there, but it is going to be modified this week to add it back in.
That's
which
good news.
is a good thing. And yes, I got my Bowie knife because this is like the biggest boogeyman to anti-gunners because they always use these cases. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's got the shoulder thing that goes up.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this, right? So the HPA will be added back in this week, according to my sources. And according to other people's sources. So not only my sources, other places have also verified that it's probably going to be added back in this week. You know, anything can happen. So I don't want to say that it's 100%, but I would say 99%.
Crump.
Yeah.
Why was it taken out in the first place?
We talked about that. There is alleged lobbying activities by places like Signature Central, and we'll talk about that in a second because I do want to talk about something about them in a second. So
is there possible? Oh, go ahead.
We'll break that down in a second. Now, what about the Short Act? A lot of people are asking. There is less of an appetite for the Short Act. So the Short Act, I would say we're going to have to put a lot of pressure on Rich. I'm going to remove you until you turn back on your camera. All right, now I'm going to re-add you. There is a lot of pressure to not include the Short Act. Not everybody wants the Short Act, but not everyone wanted the HPA either. And it looks like we're getting that because of the pressure from the gun rights community. What we need to do now is push heavily for the inclusion of the Short Act as well.
I did get a message from a viewer, which my apologies, I didn't get back to you, but thank you for the message. He said Kustoff's intern had said they had been getting thousands of calls. If 10 is a threshold, we should be good, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, I really think we need to keep the pressure up.
Keep the pressure up. What are the phone numbers here? Where's my list?
Yeah, we got to keep the pressure up, but you need to call the Senate as well. We need to keep the pressure up, but we also need to include the Short Act because the pressure is what's probably, and I say probably because until it actually happens, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just say I could go on and on and on about the theatrics and the posers and all the BS going on. Basically, we got to make the phone ring off the hook. They got to be so effing scared that phone keeps ringing no matter what. That's the important thing. That's like, we can cry and whine like little you-know-whats about stuff, but we got the ability to have action right now, and the idea is we need to make that phone ring.
Absolutely.
And
we got to keep we got to keep the pressure on them, but we got to remember we need the short act as well. Right
Yeah.
now, it looks like we're going to get the HPA this week. That will be re-added back in this week. The battle is going to be on the short act.
So the phone number is 202-225-4404. Is that the House or the Senate switchboard? Which one is that?
I don't know.
Crump, I
It's-
thought you knew everything. I thought you had it all memorized. Are we still calling Jason Smith or no?
No.
No.
All right, so we're not calling this guy.
I believe Johnny Barr, if he's out there, he had posted
Johnny Three Bar knows all.
Yeah, he had posted the number before.
Yeah, so we need to call both the House and the Senate.
Look at that, beautiful.
Call the House and the Senate. Say you demand the HPA and the short act. Now, be nice about it, because
no nasty words. All like, hey, I highly encourage you to include the original form of the HPA that removes suppressors from the NFA, because it's.
Go ahead.
So, two things about that. One is I didn't realize this, and Crump, maybe you've been saying it all along, and it's just been going over my head. They were going to make the tax 0 for Form 4s, but Form 1s, where people that build guns at home could build a free suppressor, basically, if it was 0 tax or removed from the NFA. They were going to make it $0 for a Form 4, but a Form 1 where you build your own can, it's still going to be $200.
That is
correct.
That is correct.
That's
so,
the fist somewhere
Rich,
you don't want it.
Rich, don't cut people off. All three of us have to work on that.
I think Rich just realized last night what that meant, so he's really hyped up about it.
Yeah, so the $0 tax stamp does not apply to Form 1s. It's just like the $5 tax stamp for AOWs. It's a $5 tax stamp to transfer an AOW. It's a $200 tax stamp, $200 tax stamp to make an AOW. The same way, the $0 tax stamp applies to Form 4 transfers of suppressors. It does not apply to Form 1s.
Yeah.
This is the fox and the scorpion. There is no doubt the Congress slime critters are exactly the same as they have always been. They're no different.
I think you mean the frog and the scorpion.
Yeah, it's told different ways.
Is there a fox too?
Fox, yeah.
No, I've
fox,
always heard
frog, scorpion.
I've only heard frog.
So
doesn't matter.
Don't ever get lured into thinking, I know my congressman. I've met him. I talked to him. I looked him eye to eye. They're all snakes. They're all 100% snakes. And as Dan Bongino always said, look at it as a spreadsheet. There's a plus or a minus. That's it. No emotion. Just.
Okay, so that is true, Agorizer. They're technically all transfers, but it is manufacturing. So if an SOT manufactures, they don't pay a tax, right? They do a Form 3. I created this thing. Boom, done. But for a civilian, like any of us three up here, if we said, you know what, I'd love to Form 1 a can, you still pay the $200. If you were to then go transfer it to other people, that if the $0 tax stamp went through, then it would be a $0 tax stamp for every other person it goes to. But the infringement here is not just the financial implication. The infringement here is the registration, the fact that you have to put your full name, address, social security number, height, weight, color of your hair and eyes, your fingerprints, you get a complete FBI background check. It's ridiculous. That is the infringement. So so that really quickly, going back to what I was saying earlier about the calls, there is a way that you can call, you can be very kind and also be extremely direct and say, we will accept nothing. Even if you're calling by your lonesome little self, you can still say, you're probably representing other organizations that you are part of. We will accept nothing less than the HPA in its full original form, removing suppressors from the NFA, and the Short Act, removing SBRs, SBSs, and AOWs from the NFA. Thank you so much for your time, darling. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. The registry is the big infringement. I mean, I care about the $200 tax stamp because I don't think you should be able to tax a right directly, as per Murdoch versus the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania says that you should not be able to tax a right directly. But the biggest infringement is the registry. Now, the NFA has a section that allows the registry in the law. If suppressors went on the GCA does not allow for a federal registry. So, therefore, they can't keep a registry.
Sorry, clicked on the wrong thing.
All right, let's look. I highlighted some questions here. We're going to go through these questions really quick. Then we'll get into the Senators for Central update. Has there been any movement on HR 38 Constitutional Concealed Carry Act? They've been focusing on the HPA. I know there is a lot of people that behind the scenes have been pushing for constitutional concealed carry. I'm not as confident on that as HPA, but there is movement. I would think that after this gets done, that's going to be the focus. But unfortunately, since the NFA is the tax law, it can be modified through the reconciliation process, which requires 51 votes and not 60 votes. To get through nationwide the concealed carry reciprocity, you'll need 60 votes, which we do not have at this point.
Well, they were also so busy passing the national reciprocity carrying for law enforcement only, too. So they had to focus on that, which already existed, right?
Yeah. It just expanded it a little bit. I have a dumb question. Why do we not pressure rhinos about both instead of focusing on the HPA? And then if we get one or the other, would be a win. Yes, everyone was focusing on the HPA, and the Short Act got lost in it. I think part of the reason is that even before the pressure started, there was a more of a chance of the HPA getting passed than the Short Act.
It's amazing to me that, like they say, you don't want to watch bills or sausage getting made. And this, I am absolutely incensed. I want to become a Democrat and vote for Democrats because Democrats run on something. I'm doing the Bernie Sanders. And when they say they're going to do it, they do it. Republicans, just like the first term of Donald Trump, vote for us again. We'll get you the HPA. We'll get you nationwide reciprocity. And in the second, congressional term of Trump, his last 2 years, guess what? No Republican supermajority. They effed us again. It is like what is the stupid commercial with the insurance company with the dollar on a string on the fishing pole? Here you go. Here you go. This is the carrot ahead of us. Oh, vote for us again. We'll give you this in the future. Oh, but not this time.
All right. So Gorillas and Guns. The Gorillas and Guns used to host a podcast called Virginia Reloaded, where we concentrated on Virginia issues. It was sponsored by Gun Owners of America, by the way. But he says, why not pressure them to abolish the NFA? There is a bill in the House called the Abolish the NFA Act. The reason why we push for the HPA and not the Abolish the NFA Act, we did push for both, but it was more of a willingness to take suppressors, and there's more of a willingness to take short barrel rifles off the NFA because there's a lot of Republicans that are scared of scary machine guns.
Scary. Or rifles with, barrels 2 inches shorter than the tradition. That's so whack. I can't even believe this is a thing. The men in the 30s that allowed this to happen, shame on you if you're living.
Ooh. Like, how did they get cajoled into believing, all of this stuff would be okay?
Because they were in fear for all those gangsters and mobsters around every corner.
How do we legalize weed? Weed is not, it's still federally illegal. That's why they don't say Colorado. Honestly, if you were looking to the Colorado laws or any of the laws, any of the places that legalize weed, they don't say they legalized it. They say they decriminalized it.
Yeah. That's fine. Decriminalize my rights.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what they.
All I know is, depending on what direction this goes, I am so tempted to literally set up another like crazy Richmond protest, like we had, the turn of 2020, I think it was.
Yeah.
And just be like, all right, everyone, grab your kit and roll up, and we should probably have cans too, because that kind of makes I'm sorry, my dog's freaking out. And just literally like flood the streets, and maybe kind of foolish to do it in one particular city, but it just even the people of opposing belief, like when they have their thing, like Rich is saying, like when they say they're going to do something, or they at least try it, like I just think we have to let our voices be heard in more ways than one.
Yeah, I do want to get to some of the Rumble comments that I can't put up on the screen, but I can read them. Range-minded Patriot, Range-minded podcast says they are patriots over there, but range-minded podcast says they want us all disarmed. That is the Burleson's bill is the abolish the NFA Act. He also says that Johnny Three Bar over there says they want to keep people stoned and stupid.
Yep.
And Range-minded podcast again says the government wants hopeless dependents. Hey, you got to come out to Appalachia. I'll be in Appalachia in a week. So there you go.
Would love to. And yes, free Matt Hoover, free CRS.
Yeah.
Miss you. Love you.
Okay. Okay. So I want to get to the latest updates with the Silencer Central thing.
And the prohibited person. That's a joke. Sorry. Go ahead.
They did they went on a radio show, Gun Talk Radio. I will say Gun Talk Radio is a Silencer Central sponsored show.
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there. But they did make some comments. I'm going to read the transcript and then because they're kind of just honest here. They said, we worked with NRA. We have worked with the congressional. This is about why they didn't sign the GOA letter.
Mm-hmm.
They said they just got it out of blue, which isn't true. But we worked with the NRA. We worked with the Congressional Sportsman Foundation. But, we weren't familiar with this group. So let's just deal with that right now.
They're claiming they weren't. They're saying they weren't familiar with the GOA.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna deal with this right now because this is about to get funny. All right, they weren't familiar with GOA, right? Let me show you guys something, if you don't mind, because this is gonna be funny.
And this is why when people go to court, discovery is a biatch, because all of a sudden all your digital communications are sequestered.
So their excuse of why they didn't sign the letter is because they weren't familiar with it. But let's see.
Wait, who's the they, Crump?
They were Silencer Central.
Never heard of GOA.
Never heard of Silencer. But here we go.
Don't know.
State of the Second podcast.
Hold on.
The Gun Control Act.
Hold on.
The Gun Control Act. There hadn't really been any changes during the Obama administration that would affect the zero tolerance, but it's their interpretation of it. So they kind of have a monopoly on interpreting rules, which doesn't seem right.
I said he wasn't familiar with GOA.
Welcome to Gun Owners of America's State of the Second podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm John. And today we're talking with Brandon from Silencer Central, the CEO and founder. How are you today, my friend?
Great. How about you all?
Doing wonderful. So let's start.
All right. So they're not familiar with GOA.
Hold on. I'm trying to understand this here, Crump. You got to help me out because I'm having a tough time understanding this. The guy in the T-shirt with the hat and the mug behind him all say what can you help me read that? I'm not good at reading. What are the letters on his shirt, hat, mug?
GOA.
So
welcome
Silencer
to the GOA State of the Second podcast.
So is there another Silencer Central I'm unaware of?
There's not another Silencer Central, and there's not another Brandon Maddox. Brandon Maddox is the guy they're talking to, and the guy that's not aware of the GOA.
And Brandon
And when was it?
Goa? Goa?
Yeah, so I just thought that was kind of funny.
When
So
was that
hold
from?
on. Let me. Is it
Um,
Einstein that said if you can't be trusted with simple things, telling the truth, more complex things? There's some adage like that.
All right.
Oh gosh, where the bad data stop sniffing glue?
All right. Hold on.
They've
Yeah,
already they can't be trusted. They've already made it very clear. And
But I should believe everything else they say when they don't know what the Goa is.
of course.
Yeah.
And for everyone in chat, they actively lobbied against you, paying thousands and thousands of dollars
Allegedly.
weekly.
I don't-
They've been alleged. My
you
apologies.
don't want to be sued.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it has been alleged that they have paid thousands and thousands of dollars. When you refer to the lobbying request on the Senate's website that literally list Silencer Central $50,000 and say something
Allegedly.
along the lines of
No, you can say that.
Yeah.
That's not alleged. That's
the lobbying request literally lists that. And then it literally says something along the lines of to preserve tax stamp or no, the preservation of tax stamp or whatever. Like clearly they were very open about what their goal was to preserve their business model, allegedly.
Yeah, they were also at goals, and they've already signed up to be at goals again.
Hold on, you
they
mean
were at
the-
goals last year?
Yes, about a
Who? Wait. Who runs goals?
The GOA's leadership?
The Goa.
Okay.
Goa?
Same Goa. That
Yeah,
don't
The
they-
know.
same Goa?
Here it goes. They watched too many Johnny 3 Bar over on Rumble. They watched too many of Rich's not familiar shorts.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so yep.
This is not the Goa you're looking for.
No, I actually got a couple Silencer Coke cans coming in.
Yeah. Silencer Co. is not a
Yeah,
trade.
don't-
They actually have done.
You got to be very precise in the wording and language. Yes.
And if I misspoke, I apologize. What I was referring to is
Silencer Co. I will tell you right now, Silencer Co. is 100% for the NFA. I mean, not for the NFA, for removing suppressors from the NFA.
For the
Can we
HPA.
do the Silencer Central scorecard? One, they appeared on the Goa podcast. They were at the Goa GOA goals.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry about that.
I will say that
They were at the GOA goals. They paid an F ton of money to lobbyists, which
Allegedly.
we don't precisely know what that money was for, but the description kind of sounds like they want to make sure
preservation of NFA tax stamps.
it seems to allude to it. And then they tell us what's a Goa. I don't know what a Goa is. Gee, I don't even know what they are.
Wait, let me
Yeah.
just read it. We're gonna end this. I'm just gonna read the brand statements on it just to give them a fair share. And like always, you guys can make up your own mind. I just thought
Yeah.
it was kind of funny when they said that they weren't familiar with GOA.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'll say right now that's a lie. Not allegedly. That's a effing lie. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just to be clear, though, just because a couple things had come up and another like 50 people joined, Silencer Co. had done nothing wrong. They had actually been a huge advocate of the Hearing Protection Act and that
yeah,
passing.
I will
And
say that 100%. 100%. I can say
Yeah.
that. I mean, I've talked to those guys about it.
what we're referring to
Crump,
is the
can we
allegations
just
against
give the
Silencer
background
Central.
Matt,
theoretically?
Rich.
Hang on, real
Well,
quick. This is super important. What we're referring to, Silencer Co. Good to go. All right, Silencer Shop. There's no open allegations against Silencer Shop. So a lot of people, I've seen people be like, Silencer Shop, Silencer Co. We're referring to the allegations of Silencer Central, who
Yeah,
are allegedly turncoats and traders.
Yeah, Silencer Shop has been pretty good on the HPA. I will say that.
So
I just want to read this right here. We worked with NRA, we worked with Congressional Sportsman Foundation, but we weren't familiar with this group. So I called our lobbyists and said, "What do you think?" They said, "Well, we've toured your facility. On the wall it says the most important thing is the customer, and if the customer gets something that is close to that, would you be against it? I mean, you got a family to feed, you got employees, and you got customers. I mean, you can't take such a hardline approach." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. Actually, I agree with you. And even to back up a little further, for many, many months ago, a person that called me really early in the morning. I'll call him an industry lobbyist, an insider. He said, "I was at a congressional reception in the congressional leadership, and they basically said they're going to push through the Hearing Protection Act through budget reconciliation process." So, I mean, I'm a pharmacist. I have no idea what this was. But I said, the bottom line, what do you need to do? What do you need me to do? He said, you need to make more products. All right, we're almost done here. Then, I think about fast forward. This is like a direct, so words are missing or restated over again. This is a direct, I'm reading the direct quotes. I'm not fixing it. Think about fast forward a little bit after I got this call from an industry lobbyist that he says a lot. A lot of us have like crutch words, and I think that might be a crutch phrase. So then I said, out with my lobbyist, and I'm like, okay, what do you think about this? And they're like, the only concern that they had is the budget reconciliation process will only allow for budgetary items to go through. You can't run policy items through because the difference is the budget reconciliation process only requires a majority vote. So if you could run policy through, then anytime someone had a majority in the House and the Senate and the presidency, they would run every policy through there. So there's this thing in the Senate called the Bird Rule, which stops you from running policy. So my lobbyist, who's an attorney, said, I don't think the Hearing Protection Act can go through at all through the budget reconciliation process because it's a 100% policy. He said, I think we need to be thinking about backup plans because if it gets put with a congressional bill, then it goes to the Senate. The Senate will pull it out from the parliamentarian procedural process. Then we got nothing. So, yeah, I mean, so in other words, we're willing to compromise in our minds. We would rather walk away with something than nothing. And I think that may be it.
More word salad brought to you by Silencer. All right, sorry.
So John, why would Silencer Central theoretically want the tax to remain?
Okay, well, I don't
The
know if
registration.
this is why they would want the tax to remain. If they do want the tax to remain, I'm still gonna let everyone out there make up their minds. I think a lot of people already make up their minds, but there would be some. Okay, so let's look at it how they would benefit from it and how they would not benefit from it, and then you guys can weigh. You guys can weigh it in your own minds. They could benefit from it because less regulations means more people would buy silencers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is why they would benefit from it. Now they would have to weigh that against their business model being disrupted, which is silencers to your door.
Mm-hmm.
And they would
So
also
their business model
no,
is
I'm not done yet. They would also I'll give you a chance to respond in a second. They will also have to weigh it with more companies would be able to jump into the market because the red tape would be gone,
Mm-hmm.
which would lower the cost of suppressors dramatically, which means they would have to look and see if, hey, we're going to be selling more suppressors, but our profit margin is going to be a hell of a lot lower. Which would be more profitable for us? And then you got the whole thing about removing the tax stamp, and I can just go print the suppressor on my bamboo. So okay, now you can go, Rich.
so the simple thing is Silencer Central has a business model that because a can is on the NFA, they do, is it power of attorney or something, and they're able to send it to your door.
Yeah, there is a exception for suppressors that allow them. It's not a power of attorney. You fill out everything online, but that allows them to ship it directly to your door.
And if there was no NFA, if cans were off the NFA, that business model would be disrupted.
Yeah, they would be regulated as GCA items, which would require you to go into an FFL. And
Which in dark, you deal in jigs, and if your business was put out of business, you'd be like, oh crap, I got to make money somewhere else. Good for freedom and people. Right.
Reevaluate and make
Adapt
changes.
and overcome.
We've done it before with different businesses, right? Like when frames and receivers were totally taken off the map. That's why DLD hardware exists, because of changes. You constantly have to adapt and overcome. And if you ever put your integrity up for sale, then there is no winning, right?
So if I'm going to ask you, Dark, because you do business in the 2A space.
Mm.
If you were Silencer Central and your business model was going to be disrupted because you could no longer do this NFA ship to the door, blah, 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 what would you do?
Okay, first off, a couple things. One, it's alleged that the first lobbying request came through like January 15th. Okay. Instead of spending nearly $300,000 or more, allegedly, on lobbying, you could have taken half of that and put it into reevaluating your business model. And from January to now, I would have been preparing for the possibility of a shift in the market. But also, how many people don't purchase suppressors because of the red tape and all the process and the NFA, all the stuff that people don't understand? Do you want to do it as an individual or a trusted? So many people don't get it, right? So I would have just shifted my model to make sure that I bulletproof my business.
Yeah,
And they didn't do that. They
so
auctioned off their integrity to try and
allegedly.
I'm
trying to stop being. I don't want to get you sued, man.
Well, I had already said allegedly like 3 times in the beginning.
I know. I would just keep on doing it. Just
based off of my
Later.
original allegedly, it appears that someone must have auctioned off their integrity to the highest bidder to hold on and grasp onto something that they want to so badly keep from dying, but the entire general public that are firearm owners are working around the clock to make sure it dies. So you have become, allegedly, a roadblock for us, and you're not going to win. So if this did happen, what the allegations are saying, then you just damned your business. Like eternal damnation. There is no way to come back from that. If a company did do something like that, then the only people
Or
that would purchase
companies.
something, or companies, then the only people that would purchase from you are retards that don't know who they're buying from.
Yeah,
Because you have you soiled your name for eternally if those allegations are correct.
what I want everyone to do is I got an article over Emily, go read that. Look into everything and make up your own mind.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to make any decisions based off of what I'm saying. I'm just speaking my personal opinion based on the situation and the information that we have about it, the allegations that we're discussing. And look, as a business owner, look, I know they're a big company. They have a couple hundred employees. Like, this is not a small deal, right? This is a big deal. I don't want anyone to, have a failing business. I don't want anyone to, lose employees and all the families. Like, this is going to impact likely thousands of people. So, even if you just say each employee has an average of like 5 family members that depend on them, like, this is terrible. So a lot of people are making light of it, but it is terrible. But that's if these allegations are correct, then man, it wasn't us. It wasn't the
Honest,
consumers.
I'm ready to run around the neighborhood yelling and screaming at the top of my lungs. This is so infuriating to me. The freaking politicians doing what politicians do and get paid, and getting paid by lobbyists and companies working allegedly against our best interest. It's I would rather personally be bankrupt and living under a bridge than trying to prevent paying lobbyists money to prevent my business model from going away.
I'm sorry. Let me just add this to what you said. You said our best interest. It's actually our natural God-given rights that are guaranteed to us by the Constitution of the United States and by the Constitution
Amen.
of your state. And the fact that every party that you mentioned is allegedly fighting against that. I mean, someone else mentioned in the chat earlier, it's like, I feel like the only way we're going to get our rights back is the same way we got them the first time.
Ooh,
and
yeah, we don't want to go there. That's
no one wants to. It's look, the same people that are like, we need to grab our guns are the same ones that aren't grabbing a phone to call. They're the same ones that won't grab a pen. The same ones that won't go to a protest. The same, hey, Stealth Arms out there, what's up? I would love to get a 1911 parts kit. Sorry, but dude, Stealth Arms is like the OG.
I will say Stealth Arms did sign the letter.
Yes, and also
Amen.
OG in the building community. And a lot of people don't even know that they were the inventor of the platypus. I mean, they've done so many dope.
That's so cool. The
I want
platypus
a platypus so bad.
Dude, they're
can't really afford it. Whatever.
Yeah, their original 1911 jigs. Woo! You think I'm the jig guy? Those are the jig guys right there.
Yeah, I would love my son has a platypus like from Stealth Arms, like one of the platypus stuffed animals that he
really?
has like right on his bed.
That's dope. I think I'm gonna have to get a platypus airsoft or something just to have one.
Yeah. So my son has I got it at SHOT Show. It's their platypus, but whatever. Stay on topic. All right, thank you. Not about the flat. I just love the platypus. All right.
So here's why I want to make sure that everybody's
Rich, stop interrupting. I'm going to break you of this habit.
Interrupting Cal.
Okay. So we got a question here. Does the HPA change? Oh, hold on. Let me read it. Does the HPA change what allows us to get a suppressor shipped to our door. You still have to go through a background check through an FFL to get them. The HPA would remove them from the NFA, which if they get removed from the NFA, they'll be treated like a GCA item, which would be treated like a gun. You cannot get them shipped to your door. You would have to go to an FFL.
But there would be no background check. There'd be no NFA type background check. It would be like a standard 4473, as if it was just a standard firearm.
Yep. Also, I want to get through these questions, and I'll turn it back over to you, Rich. Also, what about the short act? There's less of an appetite for the short act. That is where the real battle is right now with the short act. And the last thing I want to bring up is Frag Out Firearms is having an amazing sell if you want to get like a new like Glock for like $400. That
Customized.
is all customized with engravings and Cerakoting. Go there. Frag Out Firearms. Things are crazy priced.
Yeah.
They're
flying off. Rich, don't interrupt. I'm going to break you of this habit. And they're flying off the shelf. I get a lot of complaints about that.
Maybe we need to pass like a baton to each other, you know.
All right, now Rich, you can go.
So the firearms are below what a stock firearm would cost. You're getting a fully customized laser Cerakoted block. Go check out Frag Out Firearms. So here's, I think, the critical takeaway on all of this is we have a once in 100-year chance to do nothing more than make a phone call and call your state rep. I mean your House of Representatives, congressman, call your senator, tell them you want suppressors off the NFA, that the HPA needs to be included in the budget reconciliation. All you have, don't wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I didn't have the time to do it. This is the time that we have. We have never been so close to making this happen. This is, the absolute moment. Make that phone ring, light up that switchboard, dial the number you see on the screen, call them. Armsman says 3 times a day. Call them, make them realize that this is critically important to us. This is the only thing they understand. The only thing they know is when their phone rings and they understand that the people that vote for them, that contribute to their campaigns, are the ones. Be polite, be kind, be nice, say, hey, it is incredibly important to me that suppressors are off the NFA, include the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act, in the reconciliation bill.
And the short act.
All right, this is an interesting point here. I wonder how Form 1 solvent trap suppressors factored into this. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, they did. 100% they did. I didn't even bring that up, but you actually nailed it. But that is 100%.
So there's just things I didn't want to talk about, but that's absolutely the ability for any one of us that has a 3D printer to be able to click, I want a can for this, and print a can. The ability to get the Temu whatever solvent trap in Form 1 it and put a serial number on it. Or, I mean, if it's off the NFA, it's not even a Form 1 anymore, right?
Yes.
If these things are off the NFA, Temu solvent traps, 3D printing, all that,
it
fair
would just
game.
be parts, I would assume.
Parts, no serial number, no nothing. Just like me 3D printing a gun or whatever it may be, firearm, manufacturing a firearm, no serial number. Same thing.
If you're in a priest, go ahead.
And I do want to say happy birthday to Kurt24. Kurt24
Belated.
is the producer of BLD After Dark.
Yeah.
And is great.
Pressing the buttons. If you're in a free state.
Yeah.
Just real quick to echo what Rich is saying. If you're in a free state and you can build firearms unserialized in the privacy of your own home, and in most states you can, then use that same creativity with suppressors if they become just firearms. Okay, because I don't know how much they took that into consideration, but for us, it would be, oh yeah, I need a can for this. Boom, done. You know, polymer or aluminum, whatever. That's all I'm saying.
And with that, I think we're going to wrap up here. Check out Flying Rich at Flying Rich and Flying Rich Firearms and DLD After Dark at DLD After Dark. And check out Definition Knives. And we are out of here. See you guys later. And bye-bye.